Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at NACTV at wcgwave.ca. And this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, June 11th, 2021. And there's a large article on the front page with a big picture, A Name Neepawa Can Be Proud Of, by Owen Devereaux. A new era for Junior A hockey in Neepawa has been unveiled. The Neepawa natives are no more, as the team announced on Monday, June 7th, that its name has officially been changed to the Neepawa Titans. To go along with revised moniker, updated primary and secondary logos, as well as new team jerseys were also revealed. The logos were designed by Brooks Freeman of Virden, Manitoba, and is inspired by Greek mythology, which defines a titan as one that is gigantic in size or power. The primary colors are black, silver, gray, and gold. The black and silver harken back to the original colors of the team when it was first established back in 1989. The gold, meanwhile, adds additional contrast and refers to a field of canola on the horizon, according to the team's official media release. The primary logo features the new team word mark in front of a sword and a shield, while the secondary is a helmet in a similar style to that of a centurion in front of a shield. The name change was announced just under a year ago amid a flurry of professional sports franchises rebranding away from Indigenous names and likenesses that have been in use for decades. There was much talk about before the official unveiling as to what the full rebrand would be. At different times, there were suggestions related to the area's agriculture, lumber, pork, or brewing industries to be the foundational component to the change. Neepawa Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson said that the selection of the name Titans was meant to serve as an homage to all four of those industries. In our discussions on the name, we just kept coming back to the four pillars of our community, which is our farm sector, the brewery, pork production, and the lumber. Those are titans in our community and important members of our community. They are an integral part of Neepawa, said Pearson. As well, Pearson said that the new name needed to have an aura to it that signified strength, and that of all the choices, Titans was the name that checked all those boxes. And it goes on to say, Pearson admitted that the change was a touch bittersweet for him personally, as he was a player for the Neepawa natives in the early 90s. He added, however, that the board understands that times change and hopes that this new look will be well received locally. As a player who wore this sweater in the 90s, it played a big part of my life. It was a special time. However, for a younger generation of fans and the next chapter in Neepawa's hockey history, this new name is something people will embrace and be proud of. I'm looking forward to it, Pearson said. So far, the change has been very well received. People have been reaching out in a positive manner and are already asking, when can we get our hands on some apparel? Neepawa Titans team president Ken Waddell noted via media release that the board is hopeful that the community will quickly embrace the club's new brand. This is a blue-collar, hard-working town, Everyone grabs their lunch pail and goes to work every day to keep our great community growing, said Waddell. That's what we want to embody as a hockey team. Hard-working, community-minded leaders on and off the ice. And here are the logos and jersey designs. This is the new secondary and primary logos for the Neepawa Titans. And here are pictures of the new road black jerseys or outfits, the home white jersey, and the gray third jersey. They're very nice. This is a larger picture of the logo on the jersey. Next, we have a lady from Neepawa that is turning 100 years old this month, by Kira Patterson. There's going to be another centenarian in town very soon. Annie Gladden will be turning 100 on June the 19th, but you might not think that if you saw her. Carol Koski is Gladden's daughter, and she said that she doesn't think her mother acts like she's 100. I don't know how someone who's 100 is going to act, but she doesn't act like it, she chuckled. I mean, she's pretty sharp. Koski stated that Gladden is always cheerful and is very friendly to everyone she meets. Other words to describe my mom are strong, positive attitude, great work ethic, always keeping busy, purposeful, Koski added. One of Gladden's favorite pastimes over the years has been traveling. She noted that she's been all over Canada and seen nearly all of Manitoba. The only thing I haven't been was to Churchill, she said, but they didn't have tours to Churchill back then. She added that one of her favorite Canadian destinations was the Atlantic provinces. The Maritimes was very nice. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, it's beautiful down there. Gladden has also gone abroad for a number of trips. I've been to England twice, she said. She's been to several different states as well, including New York, Hawaii, Michigan, and Illinois, which is where Koski lives now. She even went on an Alaskan cruise with Koski at the age of 90. During her travels, Gladden has met some rather notable figures. I was in an airplane with Wayne Gretzky from Winnipeg to New York, she recalled. I didn't realize it was him. I just thought he was an ordinary guy. We were talking away, and then when we came out, my daughter and son-in-law recognized him. She added, he didn't even say his name, and I hadn't said mine. We just talked. I don't think hockey was even mentioned. She estimated that encounter took place over 20 years ago. Gladden had possibly one of the most British encounters while she was in England when she met Princess Diana. I shook hands with her, had a nice little chat with her. She was a very nice person and a beautiful woman. That would have been at least 40 years ago. She was still married to Prince Charles. There was never a shortage of activities to keep Gladden busy at home too. An avid gardener, she's a lifetime member of the local horticultural society. She also loves knitting, crocheting, and baking. I like to make butter tarts. Not so much cookies now. I used to make a lot of cookies, but I find it kind of awkward getting them out of the cupboard without spilling them. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be. I still make matrimonial cakes and some things like that. Koski recalled that her mom baked a lot when she was still at home too. She used to always bake bread on Mondays. She added that her mom loved to entertain guests, and she remembered that there always seemed to be people visiting at their home. In addition to her hobbies, Gladden kept busy with volunteering over the years. She was a Girl Guide leader, a member of the United Church in Neepawa. She helped with the Junior Horticultural Garden Club and often used to visit residents of local senior homes, bringing them flowers or some of her baking. She's done a lot of volunteer work through different organizations throughout the years. She's a hard worker. She very much always has something that she needs to do. Even at her age now, she lives in a small apartment and she still, has to water the plants and bake. Gladden was born and raised in the community of Riding Mountain to parents Thomas and Minnie Scott. She grew up with 5 other siblings on the family farm. Us girls, we had to work a lot outside the house, she noted of her time growing up. We milked cows and worked in the garden and everything. In 1944, she married the late Vince Gladden, and they moved to Neepawa and built a house together in town. Gladden had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. Koski is her only surviving child, as her son passed away in a car accident as a teenager, and her other daughter died just last year. She has 4 grandchildren, 10 great-grandchildren, and just recently became a great-great-grandmother as well. Gladden lived in the same house she built with her husband right up until last fall, when she moved to the Yellowhead Manor. She noted that she had paid for the apartment at the Yellowhead Manor a couple of months in advance, but she wanted to wait until the fall before moving because she had lots of vegetables in her garden that she wanted to make sure she could bring in before leaving her former home. With her 100th birthday coming up and still living independently, Gladden shared her not-so-secret formula for having a long, healthy life. Well, I never drank or I never smoked, and I like to eat fresh vegetables, and I still make my own meals. When asked how it felt to be nearing this big milestone, Gladden replied, "Well, we just never know, one day to the next, what's going to happen." While a big celebration cannot take place due to the current COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, those who would like to congratulate Gladden and wish her a happy birthday can still do so. Cards or letters can be mailed to her at 301-310 Davidson Street, Neepawa, Manitoba, ROJ1HO. Travel and entertainment. We have a winner. NACTV's Toonie jackpot is finally claimed. And here we have a picture of NACTV office manager Liwei Cabrera presenting a check for $11,468 to Lorraine Cavers, the winner of the NACTV Bigger Bingo Toonie jackpot. Lorraine's numbers hit during the Wednesday, June 2nd episode of the program, which is broadcast live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. The jackpot had been growing since October 2019. And here we have a very old picture. This photo, submitted to the banner and pressed by Jaron Davidson, depicts George Allen Davidson. George Davidson was one of the early editors of the Neepawa Register and Beautiful Plains County Advertiser. The Advertiser was originally known as the Neepawa Canadian. And next, now I think we'll come back to that after. So we have Helen Drysdale's edition of Out of Helen's Kitchen. This week it is entitled Getting Married. In the good old days, June was traditionally the most popular month to get married. Forget about the blessings from the goddess Juno, for whom June is named, who was said to be the protector of women in marriage and childbearing. For those practical prairie people, June was after seeding and usually before haying, thus buying a small reprieve in a busy schedule. June has lovely weather, so it was easier for guests to travel to your wedding by horse and buggy. Moreover, June brides were likely to have their first child in spring rather than in the cold of winter. When those bachelors were tired of eating fried eggs with bread and butter and canned beans every day, this encouraged them to forego their shyness and embark on courtship. During the courtship, the woman never ever called or contacted the men. Men did all the initiating of courtship. When dating began, the expectation was to marry someone within your own faith. Falling in love with a person of the wrong religion could mean exclusion from the family and probably refusal to be married in the church. Courtship meant developing a deeper relationship, as you needed to know that the other person was the one for you, because this was a permanent deal. Divorces were almost unheard of. In the words of Benjamin Franklin, keep your eyes open, wide open before marriage and half shut afterwards. Families encouraged women to marry young. Girls began preparing for marriage as a young teenager. A family member, often grandpa, made a hope chest, and the little miss embroidered pillowcases and dresser scarves and made items such as aprons and quilts to make her future house a home. By the time she was ready for marriage, she would have a nice collection of household items. Women did not accept the proposal for marriage without their father's consent. Women and men were not considered equal, as women were seen as the weaker sex. Legally handed over from her father to her husband, she could not own land or keep any money she may earn. Before the wedding, in most communities, a bridal shower was held. Wedding showers had their start in the 1890s when a parasol was passed around the room and each person placed a small gift in it for the new bride-to-be. Nowadays, the typical wedding costs $25,000 plus, with large bouquets and banquets, dances, expensive wedding dresses, exotic honeymoons, and photo shoots. Weddings of old took place in the local church or at home, mainly in the morning, with the preacher performing the ceremony. Many of the dresses were simple and serviceable, so they could be used again for other occasions. After the service, everyone went to the bride's parents' home to sit down to a dinner prepared by the bride's family. Not too many went on honeymoons, just hopped in the buggy and off to the shack they went. Several days later, friends and neighbors gathered in the night and came into the yard shooting guns and banging pots and hollering. They came in, met the new wife, and after some teasing, set about to play cards or visit and enjoy refreshments, compliments of the newlyweds. This chivalry was a notable welcome to the community. For the men who have read this far down, a reminder that no husband has ever been shot while doing the dishes. Only in the prairies would you be offered dainties at a wedding or shower. And Helen has two dainty recipes, one called Hawaiian squares and the next turtle bars. And here's a picture of a couple posing together June 29th, 1904, and their names are George and Jean Drysdale. All right, so now is the Spruce Plains RCMP report by Corporal Jacob Stanton. This is for the week of May 31st to June the 6th. The Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 57 police activities. The first one's May 31st. RCMP responded to a report of a break-and-enter at a residence in Gladstone. Police cleared the home and found no signs of forced entry. The matter was deemed unfounded. Police conducted a COVID-19 compliance check at a residence in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne. All persons were found complying with quarantine regulations. June 1st, RCMP responded to a report of mischief at a business in Neepawa that was later determined to be unfounded. Police engaged with several motorists and issued tickets for various Highway Traffic Act offenses. June 2nd, RCMP received a report of a possible impaired driver in Neepawa. Police located, stopped the vehicle, and conducted alcohol screening tests on the driver. The test resulted in a 0, and therefore the report was determined to be unfounded. Police responded to an assault in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne, and the investigation is ongoing. June the 3rd, RCMP responded to a residential alarm in Gladstone that was determined to have been set off accidentally. Police received a report of a break-and-enter at a residence in Neepawa that was determined to be unfounded. Police responded to a report of trespassing in Clan William. All involved parties were spoken to and the issue was resolved without incident. June 4th, RCMP conducted a well-being check on a person in Neepawa who was found to be fine with no cause for concern. Police were dispatched to an abandoned 911 call at a residence in Neepawa, where it was discovered there was a family dispute going on. All parties were spoken to and no charges were laid. June 5th, RCMP responded to a domestic assault in Minnedosa where one person was arrested and charged as a result. Police were dispatched to a vehicle versus pedestrian collision in Minnedosa, and the matter is still under investigation. RCMP were patrolling in the RM of Minto O'Donnell and stopped a vehicle traveling 156 kilometers in a 100-kilometer zone. The driver was issued a $783 ticket for speeding, and a serious offense notice was sent to MPI for license review. Police were dispatched to the campground in Minnedosa for a report of fighting. One person was arrested for breaching a court-ordered condition and was taken into custody until sober. June the 6th, RCMP received a report of threats being uttered in Minnedosa that was later determined to be unfounded. Police engaged with several motorists and issued tickets for various Highway Traffic Act offenses. RCMP conducted 20 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. Now we have some water safety tips for safe summer swimming submitted by the Canadian Red Cross. June 5th to the 12th is National Water Safety Week. The sun is shining, the heat is rising, and it's time to enjoy all the fun that summer has to offer. But before taking the plunge at the lake or in your backyard pool, the Canadian Red Cross wants you to keep water safety at the top of your mind. Young children between the ages of 1 and 4 are particularly at risk of drowning, explains Lynn Kolba, Canadian Red Cross Swimming and Water Safety Representative. A high percentage of these water-related fatalities are preventable. The more aware we are of possible dangers around bodies of water, the better we can prevent, prepare, and enjoy. Keep these water safety tips in mind this summer, and they are as follows. Active supervision. The absence of adult supervision is a factor in most child drownings, whether it's a pool, the bathtub, a water park, or the beach. Always watch children actively around water, even if they can swim. Consider requiring all non-swimmers to wear a life jacket to keep them at the surface to assist you while supervising. Backyard pools. They are especially dangerous for small children. Ensure adequate barriers are in place, such as four-sided fencing, recommended at least 1.2 meters in height, with gaps no larger than 10 centimeters, along with a self-closing, self-latching gate. Empty portable toddler pools after each use. Bathing children. When bathing, infants or toddlers and adults should always remain with the child. Children should never be relied upon to supervise other children in the bath. When a child is in the bathtub, never leave to answer the phone or for any other momentary distraction. Diving. Diving head first into the water should be avoided unless the individual is properly trained and is sure that the water is deep enough. Avoid diving in home pools and always enter the water feet first. For open water, be cautious about swimming in currents. If you become caught in a river current, roll onto your back and go downstream feet first to avoid hitting obstacles head first. When you are out of the strongest part of the current, swim on a forward angle toward shore. Swimming and paddling to cool off from the heat are some of the great pleasures of summertime, said Kolba. Understanding safety issues around water, preparing for possible emergencies, and remaining diligent when supervising children can help keep everyone swimming safely. And there's a picture here. People were eager to get into the Neepawa pool to cool off with some swimming this past weekend. With temperatures being hot and humid for the majority of the past few weeks, getting into the water was sure to be a relief. WMCI shop students end year on luxurious note. by Casper Werwan. Shop students at the William Morton Collegiate Institute, or WMCI, completed a semester-long project recently. To finish off the year, the class created what is being formally called a luxury hunting blind. Trevor Lang, the shop teacher, explained that an old cargo van with a missing cab had been found and thus sparked the project. The students put a hitch on the front of it, closed it in with tin and wood framing, and added bus seats for seating. There's holes in the bottom too, so it can be towed out onto the lake for ice fishing. It's got a wood stove, barbecue, and the oil was changed in it too. Lang added, the kids had lots of ideas. There were a few kinks along the way, but they worked through it. They even made decals for the bumper stickers. All it needs right now to be street legal is a license plate. As to why the students chose this as their project for their final semester, shop student Brendan Palmer provided the answer. We wanted to make something unique, something our class would be remembered by, even with all this COVID-19 stuff going on. Our shop's teacher helped us make it a reality, and it turned out pretty cool. Palmer noted that some of the difficulties they encountered were with the foaming of the interior, wiring, and framing. Some of the foaming hadn't worked out initially, and with the cab missing, wire work was difficult, and everyone had to get creative. As well, we had to do special 2x4 cutting due to the shape of the vehicle. Finding a good paint job was tricky too. Sharing his final thoughts, Palmer noted that he thinks the project brought all those who worked on it closer together, stating, with the pandemic, I've been missing my friends, so this brought us together again. It's been a fun experience. Raffle tickets for the hunting blind, which Lang says were a hot commodity, have been sold. A draw announcing the winner is currently set for June 19th. All funds raised by ticket sales will be put towards covering the costs of a similar project next year, whether it be a trailer or another hunting blind. A total of 500 tickets were sold at $10 each, well covering the approximate cost of $1,000 associated with building this year's hunting blind. In addition to Brendan Palmer, students involved in the project were Brock Sigurdsson, Rylan Dembo, and Justin Spurl. Giving Neepawa a standout look in the world of hockey, Verdun-based graphic designer creates dynamic new team identity by Owen Devereaux. It's the type of project every graphic designer who's starting to make a name for themselves in the industry dreams of, the complete rebrand of a sports franchise. For Brooks Freeman, that opportunity presented itself in a big way recently with the chance to turn the Neepawa Titans from just a vague idea to a dynamic and colorful reality. Over the last few years, Freeman has gained a reputation as a very creative mind in the competitive world of sports logo design. The owner and operator for Brooks Freeman Design, based out of Verdun, Manitoba, has already accomplished quite a lot in a short period of time. His portfolio features redesigns and commemorative logos for the South Carolina Stingrays, Prince Albert Raiders, Kalamazoo Wings, and Brandon Wheat Kings. His work can also be seen around the MJHL, having created third jerseys for his hometown Verdun Oil Capitals and helping to modernize the Dauphin Kings' historic crown logo. With Neepawa, however, Freeman noted to the Banner Press that he was tasked with a completely different but exciting assignment. I was contacted in the autumn of 2020 by Neepawa board member Brandon Crow, who is part of the Neepawa team committee, about working on the project. Brandon is a very active person in my hometown of Verdun and also worked with the Oil Capitals for a few years. He suggested my name when the team was looking for who might be the right designer. It wasn't until January when I was contacted by head coach and general manager Ken Pearson about going ahead with the rebrand and having me be the designer. I was very excited to have the opportunity opportunity as I had never gotten to work on a complete rebrand for a professional team before, stated Freeman. Once the two sides agreed to work together, board members for the Titans and Freeman discussed a few general ideas for what they wanted the brand to be. At that point of the process, there were 3 different color schemes being considered and many different ideas being thrown around. Freeman said he started doing some initial sketches and ideas for the primary and secondary logos as well as jersey ideas. That first round of proofs was then sent to the team in late January. Unlike many brand changes which can run into several months of trial and error, the hockey club's board was immediately pleased with what Freeman was able to create. This first round was well approved by the team, but we kept going as we knew it could be improved on. In total, there were well over a dozen logo variations and versions of both the primary and secondary logos before we came to the finalized versions, said Freeman. The same can be said for the jersey designs, where there were many different colors and striping patterns which were considered. Everything was finalized and sent off by the end of March, so the entire process from start to finish took just over 2 months. With the Neepawa Titans' new logos and sweaters making their official debut on Monday, June the 7th, Freeman said that there is now a real sense of accomplishment and pride in creating a brand that's unique. To stand out, a team should have logos and colors that really catch your eye and be something that your fans should be proud to wear on merchandise and see advertised around their community. I feel like that this new brand for Neepawa's hockey team will stand out, not just in the MJHL, but in all of junior hockey. The logos are very original, aggressive, and bold, with a color scheme that is not often seen in hockey. I think many fans of both newer and younger generations in the Neepawa area will enjoy the new look and embrace it as their own, Freeman said. I believe the finalized look for the team is something that will catch people's eye when they first see it and will give the town of Neepawa a standout look in the world of hockey. And speaking of hockey, Niverville has been awarded an MJHL expansion franchise for the year 2022/23. Submitted by MJHL Media Release. The Manitoba Junior Hockey League, MJHL Board of Governors has announced that it has granted an expansion franchise to operate in Niverville, Manitoba. The new team will play its inaugural season from the brand new Niverville Community Resource and Recreation Center, CRRC, in the 2022/23 MJHL campaign. Niverville is recognized as one of the fastest growing communities in the province, and the MJHL is thrilled to bring a new organization into this community while adding another first-class state-of-the-art facility to our league, said MJHL Commissioner Kevin Surratt. We have been in ongoing discussions with this group for a number of years and are very confident that the community-owned non-profit organization and the town of Niverville will provide an ideal new home market for the MJHL going forward. I would also like to recognize the significant commitment and efforts of Clarence Braun, who was instrumental in helping bring a new MJHL franchise to the town of Niverville, Surratt concluded. Niverville's mayor, Myron Dick, shared his excitement in welcoming Junior A hockey to the growing town of Niverville. On behalf of the town of Niverville, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the MJHL to our community and to congratulate the group of local residents for their hard work in making their dream a reality today. We are excited for this news and wish both the MJHL local resident Clarence Braun, his management team, and all their supporters much success in the years ahead, said Dick. The MJHL has announced the regular season start date, schedule format, divisional format, and important dates for the upcoming season. The puck will drop for opening weekend on Friday, September 17th. Opening weekend will feature 6 home and home divisional matchups taking place over the course of the weekend, involving all 12 member teams. The MJHL will also make a return to 2 divisions for the upcoming season, featuring a West and East division, with 6 member teams making up each division. The West will consist of the Dauphin Kings, the Neepawa Titans, Ocean Blizzard, Swan Valley Stampeders, Wayway Sikapo Wolverines, and the Verdun Oil Capitals. The East Division will include the Portage Terriers, Selkirk Steelers, Steinbach Pistons, Winnipeg Flyers, Winnipeg Blues, and Winnipeg Freeze. Each team will play a 54-game schedule, playing 40 games within their division and 14 games outside of their division. Now for the Carberry North Cypress Langford News. Here and There by Gladwin Scott. Although it is baseball season in Manitoba, there is still no baseball. However, there was playoff hockey in Winnipeg with 500 vaccinated healthcare workers in attendance. The Winnipeg Jets upset the second-place Edmonton Oilers in a 4-game sweep behind the netminding of Connor Hellebuck, while the Montreal Canadiens upset the North Division pennant-winning Toronto Maple Leafs 4-3, with goalie Carey Price leading the way. Montreal's Bell Centre hosted 2,500 fans who were healthcare workers. It looks like a tough series, however, it was a bad scene in the last minute for Mark Scheifele in Game 1. Well, we know how that series went. Grey Ridge Coffee from Minnedosa was present on Main Street Wednesday, June the 2nd, to provide a variety of coffees. They plan to return once a week. The Edmonton Football Club has announced its new franchise name, the Elks. The Eskimos moniker had been tied to sports teams in Edmonton since the 19th century. The football club, squad had won the Grey Cup 14 times, including a record 5 straight from 1978 to 1982. This all happened after the NFL's Washington Redskins and baseball's Cleveland Indians decided to change to less derogatory names. Some sponsors threatened to withdraw without changes. The team helmets will bear elk antlers and use other iconic Edmonton EE logos. Shortlisted names were Evergreens, Evergolds, Eclipse, Elkhounds, Eagles, and Elements. Manitoba is still running high with COVID-19 cases, but is also contending with vaccine hesitancy and some individuals that deny the pandemic as a hoax. In southeastern Manitoba, vaccination numbers are low. Steinbach, 34.4%, Altona, 33.5%, and Winkler, 21.5%. Winkler Mayor Harder, renowned Dr. Clausen, and former COVID-19 patient Mrs. Giesbright are leading a campaign to increase vaccination. Mrs. Giesbright stated, "If you spent a week in hospital with COVID-19, you would be more receptive to the vaccine." Top communities for vaccinations are Gimli at 69.3% and Pinawa at 69.5%. Six First Nations, Cross Lake, Norway House, Garden Hill, Wasaga St. Teresa Point, and Red Sucker Lake are higher than 80% with first doses. Oakland-Wawanesa Council has accepted the tender of Jacobsen Construction to renovate and enlarge the Wawanesa office at a cost of $510,571 over a tender to build a new office in Nesbitt at a cost of $646,000. Mold and asbestos in the Nesbitt office have created problems. The Wawanesa office is close to banking, a post office, and other facilities not available at Nesbitt. The equipment and machinery operation will remain in Nesbitt. Dennis Rome presented a petition to dissolve the municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa, but did not meet any of the provincial standards set out by the municipal board, so the council took no action. The RM of Norfolk Treeherne has voted to establish a ward system for the purpose of electing municipal councillors. American President Joe Biden spoke in Tulsa, Oklahoma to mark the 100th anniversary since an angry white mob destroyed the prosperous Black Wall Street May 30th and June 1st. The massacre was caused by hatred and jealousy, which is still obvious today. Democracy in the United States is in jeopardy, with 389 bills passed in 48 states to suppress voting rights. An independent bipartisan bill to examine January 6th insurrection on the Washington Capitol did not get enough Republican support in the Senate. Senator Lisa Murkowski asked her leader, Mitch McConnell, "Where is your conscience?" Lake Minnedosa Beach has a new attraction with the addition of a 100-foot zip line. The zip line project cost approximately $31,000. RJ Wass School staff and students held an Orange Shirt Day and tied orange ribbons on the north fence of the schoolyard as a tribute to the loss of 215 Indigenous students at Kamloops Residential School. At Carberry Collegiate, grade 5 students and teachers, Donna Kimakovich and Tenley Cameron, used chalk to inscribe "Every Child Matters" on the front sidewalk. A display at the entrance of the school included many pairs of shoes and stuffed animals, plus a portrait by grade 9 student Tyrone Dumas. And the community profile this week is Matthew Penner. Matthew Penner just reached his 18th birthday and is a member of the Carberry Collegiate 2021 graduating class. Penner, who enjoys curling and basketball, needs 3 credits: physics, global issues, and applied mathematics to graduate on June 28th. His parents, Annette and Ken, have had a positive influence on his development. Ken is a mobile mechanic, and Annette is a secretary for Shiloh Farms. Matthew is on a waiting list to join the construction electrician program at Assiniboine Community College. Optimism aplenty, seen in Neepawa Business Survey. Many of the responses to the recent Neepawa and Area Business Survey are painting a rosy picture of future hiring and expansion. Neepawa's Economic Development Officer, EDO Marilyn Crew, shared the data with Town Council on Tuesday, June 1st. The survey was put together by the EDO and the Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce and distributed to chamber member businesses. The voluntary questionnaire was first implemented in 2015 as a means of gauging future hiring and expansion plans, as well as the general outlook for the future. Crew noted in her presentation that despite the uncertainty COVID-19 has created over the past 15 months, a large portion of the respondents were feeling hopeful about their businesses in the year ahead. It's important to track business over time in a community in order to understand where your community is going, stated Crew. Every year, there are things from the survey results that surprise me. And this year, here are a couple of highlights. This is the first survey since I started doing this where there was no businesses planning to lay off employees. As well, the number of businesses planning to hire has tripled year over year. The number of businesses that said they were planning on hiring more employees tripled from 12% in 2020 to 36% in 2021. As well, plans for business expansion jumped from 25% last year to 43% of respondents this year. Even more notable, no businesses responded that they were looking to downsize, the first time that's occurred since 2016. Other notable information gathered from the survey also included local businesses identifying the regional Westman market as a whole as their primary market area jumped from 20% in 2020 to 43% this year. Supports requested by businesses from the Chamber of Commerce included increased marketing, access to insurance, and bigger business promotions for Neepawa. There was a strong level of support for shop local marketing projects for Neepawa, with 50% of respondents saying they would partner with funding and 25% indicating they would partner on a volunteer basis. Virtual business after 5, there was 3 businesses said they would host and 13 wanted more information. 7 businesses offered to volunteer at chamber organized events. Crew noted that she will be very curious about if other rural communities are seeing these types of results from their businesses. She added that in larger urban centers, a lot of small businesses have struggled over the past year, but that these results appear to suggest that Neepawa businesses have found a way to be successful despite the COVID-19 issues of the past year. Here we have street art in action. On Friday, June the 4th, grade 6 students from Neepawa Middle School were out decorating the sidewalks with chalk art. The assignment was to create an interactive drawing which the kids would pose with to become part of the scene. So pictured here we have Carter Curtis, Rebecca Davidson, Chloe Aquil, and Isaiah Nabaum. All 4 are students from Mrs. Freeman's class who were drawing their art along Hamilton Street. And here we have some individuals that gathered at Neepawa recently to hold a memorial to honor the 215 Indigenous children found buried near the Kamloops residential school. All those found had been students at the residential school when it was in operation from the late 19th century to the late 1970s. The school had been opened and run by the Catholic Church until the government took charge late in the 1960s. The facility at present is a museum and the community facility that hosts cultural and memorial events. Pictured here we have Lola Roulette, London Roulette, Shea Star, Silver Roulette, Trey Bolio, Stanley Starr, and Blake Bolio. Now, I was just going to, my paper fell apart. I was going to read Homebodies by Rita Friesen. Is it hot enough for you? Those days last week took me back, way back to when I was but a youth. The memory crystallized when I was working in the mid-afternoon shade, not in the sun, but in the shade. The task was not arduous, however, the sweat dripping down my forehead was causing my eyes to burn. It was sweat, no ladylike perspiration or breaking bead, plain eye-burning sweat. I was working outside by choice, getting some jobs done so the evening would be free to be enjoyed. The memory was of work performed by duty, baling. Square bales, hard lifting, heavy, steady work. My father did custom baling, a faithful 8N tractor and a not-so-faithful Massey baler. We took turns driving the tractor and manning the sledge, a contraption of 2 planks, co-joined front and back, on which a series of bales would be stacked before. With a firm heel and a heave, the stack would slide off to rest in the field. Repeat procedure, repeat all day. Some days it was too hot in mid-afternoon. The leaves would drop from the alfalfa and they contained the best nutrients. So it was not for the humans that we paused, but for the product. Those days the work would continue late into the night. A welcome relief, however, Hand signals from driver to sled runner were of no avail in the dark, and a loud "whoa" would have stopped a horse, but not a hard of hearing tractor driver. Oh, the fun we had. I did get paid a cent a bale. I don't know what Dad charged the farmers, but I am certain that he profited from my labor. The memory flitted to the uniform. It was a time when we wore canvas sneakers for working. They were thin. The clover stubble could penetrate and pierce a foot. It was a relief when a hole appeared, for that meant some ventilation. My feet frequently developed heart blisters on the soles. My jeans became very fashionable, delicately shredded denim, only this was not an asset. The mending was much appreciated, for the legs needed to be covered for protection from the stalks of that hardy clover and from the crisp straw. Hot, heavy work. I do treasure the memories, for I learned a great deal by working hard and by working with my father. When it was side-by-side working, fencing or shearing, for example, he took breaks to the philosophy on history or current events. What do you think? Required a mature answer. He wanted to know and then enlighten and expand my thoughts. There was the satisfaction of a job well done, the finished project. With that baling, our finished project would be a stack 40 bales long and 12 or more high, gracefully tapered to shed moisture and carefully formed to hold its shape. A thing of beauty. One strong memory that surfaced, with still a hint of rancor, was a summer night. We were baling the back 40, and we could see on the east horizon the fireworks concluding the Carmen Fair. Ah, the sting! My sister and her beau were there, and I wasn't. So, and then there's one other thing I'll add for the last article of today's reading. Somebody has donated $2,000 to the Neepawa Curling Club. There's a picture here. The Neepawa Junior A Hockey Club donated 10% of the earnings from this year's Neepawa's Ag Expo auction to the Neepawa Curling Club. The check for $2,263 was presented by the hockey club's bookkeeper, Kay DeA, to Curling Club representative Blair Steen on Friday, June the 14th. So that concludes this week's reading of the Neepawa Banner and Press. I'm glad you could join us and hopefully see you next week. Bye for now.